Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. As I pretty much expected right from the beginning when we first heard the result of the federal appeal back during that Good News Day a while back, I knew that it was probably just a matter of time before the feds appealed that decision. And well, here we are. But there's a bit of a twist, and so that's what we're going to talk about here today. So once again, the feds are appealing a decision that basically says that they are responsible for a great many atrocities and that they need to financially compensate thousands upon thousands of Indigenous children who went to like residential schools and also foster care and were taken from their parents. There's a whole lot here, and I don't want to cover everything. I just want to cover the latest development and explain what's likely going to happen moving forward. So the latest development, and surely if you're Canadian, you've probably seen or heard something about it either on the radio or you've seen it on social media. But the federal government of Justin Trudeau has decided to issue yet another appeal to this process. However, they are calling it, I think, a protection appeal or a placeholder appeal or something like that. What that means is that this is an appeal to basically cover their bases, because they are saying anyway that they want to try and hammer out a solution with various Indigenous groups such as the AFN and like a child services agency and several other actors. They want to try and hammer out a solution out of court. But if they didn't appeal this, then that would have meant that the proceedings would go ahead and it would have been good for negotiations. So this is basically them saying, okay, look, I know it looks bad. We're filing an appeal. And yes, it absolutely still is bad that they're filing an appeal. But their reasoning for it is to place things on pause and put it on the back burner so that they can focus right now on trying to get some kind of solution and hopefully out of court with various Indigenous groups. Now, how likely are these to succeed? I'm very fond of saying hope for the best, but expect the worst. That way, either, your expectations are met and okay, well, yeah, there we go. That's about what I expected. Or you are pleasantly surprised and, oh, we actually did this. It worked. All right, cool. So I'm going to provide a couple links down below. One is just a CBC article talking about the developments and what the government is saying, and then the actual statement from the government itself saying, no, look, we still recognize that wrong was committed and we want to find a solution forward, but we just feel that the appeal court got it wrong and is trying to give too much to too many people, basically. One such comment from the feds is that according to the initial appeal ruling from like a month or two ago, people who spent even one day in foster care, the foster care program, those individuals who had been there for one day would still be entitled to just as much compensation as someone who spent an entire childhood in the system. Now, on the surface, that seems like, okay, yeah, that requires some more nuance. At the same time, having read a bit more of the appeal decision, I think what the feds and the liberals are more scared of is that compensation would have to be given to a great many people, including the estates of those who have actually passed. Because for those unaware, this whole appeal process, this whole, hey, Justin Trudeau, stop taking Indigenous kids to court challenge, this has been going on for 14 years. This is a multi-governmental bullshit problem that has been going on for nearly a decade and a half now. People who sued the government for abuses that they sustained as Indigenous children being taken away from parents, abuse in the foster care program, and various other terrifying things. People who initially sued the government have since passed away. That is how long this has been going on. And that, in my opinion anyway, is why the feds are going to try and hammer out a solution outside of court. And that's probably going to be one of the things that's on the table for them is, look, we will still give X billions of dollars in financial remuneration. We just ask that you don't give as much to the people who were there for one day, and also maybe not the estates of people who died. Because, oh, see, the people who actually died, those are the people who were abused, their descendants, which is why I'm going to take this moment to remind the feds that intergenerational trauma is absolutely a thing that exists. And I think this also shows that the feds are running scared. They filed this, secondary appeal today that everyone is, again, understandably mad about, to basically, hit the brakes on it and say, okay, look, let's try and hammer some kind of solution outside of court. And then when that no doubt takes a long time because, oh, look, sorry, things are just taking really long, but you got to trust us. Our heart is in the right place. Haven't you heard how much we care? And they're going to pull this stunt. And it's going to take so long so that they can continue to recharge their batteries, get fresh lawyers in, whatever it may be, find new ways of trying to argue for why they shouldn't actually give all this financial compensation that a federal appeals court has said, no, you should absolutely pay up. They're going to run the typical governmental circus. And in the meantime, more people are going to continue to suffer and more people will likely pass away. And then, if the talks somehow, shucks, it's so unfortunate that the talks broke down. They still have this appeal that they can fall back on, which means even more time to waste in the courts as they continue to take kids to court. Now, again, I will admit that a lot of this is just speculation, but let's just look at how the government has behaved up until this point and actually look really hard at the quote unquote problems that they're taking issue with regards to the federal court's decision. All that and more basically tells a story of a government that doesn't want to pay out and is hoping to run out the clock and then use some supposedly rational talking points for why various people or their estates should not deserve compensation. We've basically seen this before, so I wouldn't be surprised if this happens again, right? But it is still just so unfortunate to see that, hey, federal appeals court said you got to pay up. And we all knew in our heart of hearts that the government would appeal that decision. And as just disgusting and shameful and just completely we knew it was going to happen. As much as all that and more has happened, that is still not the crux of the matter for me. With regards to this whole terrible fiasco, what's absolutely sticking in my craw tonight is that this whole aspect of, we're going to try and hammer out a solution, it's basically trying to run out the clock. It's not being made in any kind of genuine desire, because if there was a well and truly genuine desire to do right by Indigenous communities and take meaningful actions towards reconciliation, the feds would have happily accepted the results from that recent ruling and said, well, you know what? Yeah, there we go. That's it. So you know what? We're gonna honor what we said that we would do. We will respect this court's decision. And they haven't. Mr. Reconciliation is important to me, and it's top of mind for so many Canadians. And, I really care. And look, don't you know how much I care? I made the first national, Remembrance Day, basically, for Indigenous genocide, which I spent surfing, right? That's what this all boils down to. How can we possibly trust the words of a man in his government that said, look, reconciliation is super important, and then he went on vacation on the National Day of Remembrance, and somehow we're supposed to believe that he and his government actually really care and are going to really genuinely try and find a solution instead of just running out the clock, hoping that more Indigenous survivors pass away so that they have even more people to try and say, well, you know what? No, we shouldn't be able to compensate their families because those who were affected, they're not with us anymore. Boy, that's so sad. That, at the end of the day, is ultimately what's bothering me today.